everybody. Can you hear me okay? I'm Darren O'Donoghue from Cameramatics. I'm actually delighted to be last because you guys are now starting to think about what form of transportation you're going to take home, so it's very relevant to this, including the sustain train, which is a thing now, apparently. So today I'm hoping to give you some help to think about how you can measure and plan and act on transport sustainability. So I have a really stupid question first. So hands up, who knows what ESG stands for? It's good. Most people have been paying attention, so there's a lot of hands. For those who don't, it's environmental, social, and governance. And it's really just a measure of how your company engages and invests in sustainable practices. A couple of weeks ago, I was at a sustainability hackathon, which was loads of fun. And one of the executives from the company that was sponsoring it had a really interesting take on it. And I think Brian touched on it as well in the panel just a few minutes ago. And what she said was, ESG is the lens through which our investors view our business now. And I think the now bit is really important. If you look at Harvard Forum on Corporate Governance, which I'm sure we all read every day, in 2019, 0.5% of publicly accessible AGMs mentioned ESG, 0.5%. In 2021, it was 20%. This year, it'll probably be over 50%. So, how many of you think how your investors view your business now? And the second thing is, do you feel ready to report accurately on your ESG progress? Because if you don't feel confident in reporting accurately, I hope I can help. So the first piece that you need to do is measure, right? And for then, those of you who don't know, there's really three scopes. Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3. Scope 1 is the stuff that you spew out. Your fleet, the carbon that fuels that you actually burn yourself, the vehicles and the machinery that you own. Scope 2 is the stuff you pay other people to spew out. Mostly your electricity purchases, right? And those two scopes are quite easy to measure if you have the right partner. I know a really good company. You should come and talk to me afterwards. Scope 3, however, is the bit where you start seeing haunted, eyes in sustainability managers all across the team here. And that's all of the other indirect stuff that includes your employee commute. It includes how your product is sourced and used towards end of life, your business travel. And it's because it's quite diverse, it's really tricky, and you don't own the assets in a lot of cases, it's really tricky to measure, okay? And the scary bit is that for like a non-manufacturing business or a non-fleet business, about 75% of your emissions are Scope 3. So 75% of the emissions are the bits that are the hardest to measure. What we've found in Cameramatics is the best way to measure that is that you have to engage the people that are involved in each of those pieces. You have to engage your suppliers, you have to engage your customers, and you have to engage your team members to report back to you. And you have to make it easy. So for suppliers, well, they're doing business with you, so you can mandate them to report back on their emissions for your jobs. And that should be easy for them if they're using Cameramatics, because their Scope 1 emissions are actually your Scope 3 emissions for your jobs. For your customers, you can do things like, depending on your product, you can offer recycling or reuse programs. If you think about what Nespresso have done with their pods recycling, it's not a perfect system, but it gives Nespresso a really good view on how their product moves into end of life and how many people want to recycle it and things like that. It gives them a really good insight. But then for your team members in your own teams, I think it's really important that you energize your teams. We have a sustainability squad in Cameramatics. Somebody else earlier on said they have a green team. There's lots of poetic and clever names for these things. But you have to involve your team. Give them an app to easily track their commuting and business travel on planes and trains and automobiles. And then help them. Help them to offset their own carbon footprint, but also the carbon footprint that they've incurred on behalf of your company through company-sponsored initiatives. At Cameramatics, we think we can help you to measure these emissions, and that's really the first step. We want you to have confidence that you can report to your board or your investors on in your ESG. So I think what's really important is that we make sure that the lens that they view your business through now is a green one. Thank you very much.